Oh, fudge. That's a good strike.
Oh, I'm so
What
far
a
behind.
shot.
That is
Oh, that's a goal?
that's a
What
great
a
hit.
shot that is. My word.
Bart Ramselaar with an absolute rocket.
That's a great hit.
Advantage Lion City.
Wow,
Holy
what
smokes.
a goal.
That's that's a good hit.
It's park the bus now, right?
Wow.
Do you try to build up as much of a lead as you possibly can
No, you
now,
have
so you can
to.
just park the bus next week?
Yeah.
But the quarterfinal for Sydney got 7 and a bit, I think, midweek. So the home game, they've been billing this for months. In terms of like their build up in the competition, they have a lot of support behind it. This feels like both. It's been a middle ground. Like with the Mariners last year, you thought they were always going to win, and previously in the Champions League, you thought they were always going to lose. So it's hard to find the middle ground. But this competition is a very good balance of something that Sydney FC could legitimately win and would actually be very rewarding to win, as they've just been awarded a free kick on the edge of the box, which would be very nice. But Sydney fans feel invested in this competition, which is awesome. And I think it's to be fair, hands held up, testament to the AFC for the way they've structured this competition. But if they go in with a draw, or even a lead after this, Sydney, they're going to get 10,000 next week.
Where are we?
Sydney just have not had a foot in the game since Lion City scored. Oh, that's a great hit.
Oh, fuck.
That's a great ball.
That's gorgeous.
Oh my lord!
That is wow. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I know we just spent the entirety of the halftime break talking about what the A-League should do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't
think they'll have to make a decision now.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think that second goal might have.
Two's okay. That's Archie. That's a good goal, though.
Well, I mean, okay, 2-0, the most dangerous league in football. I don't know.
Where's that come from?
Lucky just said 2's okay, and it's like, why? 2-0's the most dangerous league in football.
Well, it's a two-legged game, that's why.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, I know it's over 2 legs, but...
Football. Sorry,
yes,
Nick, you're too late.
I will not be at this. I said I will not be at League 2 next week. That is.
That's
so
two.
close.
It's on a platter. That's such a good move there. So well done. Great hold up play from Klimala.
Yeah,
that's
how good a
brilliant.
touchback is that?
Cop the deflection? No, that's just
He
gone.
dropped the kids off at the pool and they couldn't find the front door. There we go. All right, full time. Lion City Sailors 2, Sydney FC 0. It's been a frustrating game for Sydney FC. They were better team in moments, but Lion City Sailors came in with a clear plan, and that was Jacob to play, really, quite simply, long diagonal balls in transition, which is something that Sydney have struggled with all season. They capitalised on their moments in front of goal. Sydney FC did not, despite a few opportunities. Their automatic trump card of Adrian Segacic was not successful on this occasion, and all of a sudden they have a lot to do in the second leg in Sydney next week.
Yeah, I mean, full credit to Lion City, because I think that, they came out, they knew what they needed to do to really threaten Sydney and to get themselves on the score sheet. Because with Sydney, you can never count them out, right? Like you feel like they've always got a goal in them, and okay, they didn't score one tonight, but there were definitely moments, and Lion City knew that they were going to need to get a couple, and I mean, Sydney's issues in transition defensively are well documented at this point, especially this season. And like you said, just played really good long diagonal balls in behind early on as well. They didn't really wait too much to let those players make the runs. They played the ball ahead of the run, and so allowed the striker and the wingers to move their run and make their adjustments as the ball's in the air, which I found quite interesting. But then when those diagonal balls didn't work, and they had that backup plan, which was of course to just play a straight ball over the top instead, which was their other option. So and they both worked equally well, and we saw, especially from that second goal, the threat that poses, and when there's a moment, a lapse of judgment, some miscommunication between the centre back pairing, like there was for that second goal, all of a sudden Sydney are just out of it, and a really good finish for the second goal, and one of the best finishes we've seen for all since the morning for that first goal. And yeah, full credit to Lion City, and Sydney just looked disappointing on the ball, off the ball. On the ball, they were sloppy, overhitting passes, they were slow. By the end, that's obviously down to just being tired and fatigued, and obviously hot and humid over there, so it's going to drain them quicker. But even early on in the game, when they did have those periods of good possession, it was just a lot of silly little sloppy passes, and they couldn't quite get things going in the final third. So, a little bit uncharacteristic of Sydney. But, it's 2-0. They're heading into that next fixture at home now, and we were saying they're not completely out of it. There is still that chance for them to do it, but it would have been so good to see them convert one of those chances, especially that second Segacic chance that he had. That was a absolutely prime opportunity, and the only example throughout that game of Sydney being at their best, with that link-up play between Costa and Klimala, the really good hold-up and touch-back from Klimala to set Segacic up for a first-time shot. Yeah, you need to be doing better in those situations. So it's going to be tough for Sydney now. Seems to be, at least in the chat and amongst us, a bit of positivity that Sydney will be able to get some goals and maybe make a game of it. But, there's a lot of work ahead of them now, because they really can ill afford to concede at this point when it comes to the home fixture. And as we've seen recently, conceding is all they seem to be doing. So, they really need to sort that out and fix those problems heading into the next leg.
I think it's really tough. The 1-0 scoreline would have felt like Sydney still were the favourites coming into the second leg. I think the 3-0 would have meant that the Lion City Sailors would have come in as clear favourites. I think 2-0 probably still leans towards the Singaporeans, but not to the same extent. It's probably still so tight, as we're talking about with all of our lovely guests in the live stream tonight who were signing off. We appreciate your company, but Paletti, it's going to be a disappointing night. The conditions are something that we have to consider as well. Very warm, very humid. They went over a few days early to acclimatise, but you're never going to have that same time. It was on an artificial pitch. Sydney now get to go back. Yes, they have to play on the weekend, but they get to play in their home territory in conditions that the Lion City Sailors won't be used to. So that's obviously an advantage. And then the carrot of a stick of being able to then go and host an Asian final. That's motivation in itself. So not all doom and gloom for Sydney, but it's going to take a big effort next Wednesday night.
Yeah, it absolutely will. That home ground advantage can't be understated. We just saw what Lion City did at home. I see no reason why Sydney FC can't do similar. You've got to make sure that the Sydney Football Stadium is going to be a fortress next week. Whatever you need to do. I don't know if the club can maybe go, hey, if you turn up for the game against Auckland on the weekend, get a free ticket or something like that. Just encourage as many people to come along as you can. Make it just such a hostile atmosphere for Lion City that you can. I don't know if overpower them is the right word to use, but sort of just make them question themselves a little bit, and then one goal might turn into 2 goals, might turn into 3 goals. As one of our listeners in the chat was pointing out, like, if you can find a way to do that, particularly if you can do it early, you want to, take a 1-0 lead into halftime, 2-0 lead into halftime, and suddenly you're level with 45 minutes to play, and you've got the home advantage. Plus finals, like Lion City have to travel. Yes, I know. Sydney FC have to play on the weekend against Auckland. Lion City have to play on the weekend as well, or
I believe they do, but they've shown in the past that they will not hesitate to rest their big players.
Yeah, so they have to play Saturday night as well. So they basically both have to play at the same time. Then Lion City have to make the trip over to Australia, and you can question whether having to go over there is tougher for Sydney versus Lion City having to come over here. I think there's a very good chance that they can overturn this 2-0 lead. It might take a lot of work, but look, if there's any side in the A-Leagues this season I would trust to overcome a 2-0 lead, it would be Sydney FC because they've shown time and time again this season they can do it with a lot less time than 90 minutes on the clock.
All right, it's going to be tough for Sydney, but we hope they can get the job done, of course, hosting an Asian Champions League finals on the line. If they can get the victory, well, they need a little bit more than that, don't they? Overcome the 2-0 deficit that Lion City Sailors have afforded themselves tonight, but we'll see you then.